Jordan Hair Voodoo.
Ooh. I'm going to rip that jersey off your face and throw it out the window.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the House Divided College Football Show. It is your host, Micah, and we are back. Unfortunately, Ethan is not with us this week, as Ethan has gone into Auburn, and he is crying his little eyes out. Roll Tide. So, it is time to recap the Iron Bowl 2025. It was a great Thanksgiving week, and the Crimson Tide went into Jordan-Hare Stadium at night, 6:30 game, and were able to take a really good game. They were up 17-6. It was actually a really impressive game. Isaiah Horton had a legacy game. We had Daniel Hill running. We had Jam Miller running. The run game looked better. Defense looked pretty good. We were able to have Zabian Brown stay on Cam Coleman most of the game. And then we also have some clips here of Isaiah Horton in his amazing game right there. We did miss our tight end, Josh Cuevas. Unfortunately, Jam Miller did suffer a lower leg injury, and he will be out this week's game. However, we did win the Iron Bowl. That final score ended up being 27-20. Alabama was able to get past the Jordan-Hare Voodoo, thanks to the team, and also thanks to me. I was able to take away their City Eagle, if you remember from last week.
Oh, no!
Yeah, so City Eagle's gone. Country Eagle is gone. Ethan is gone. Auburn is gone. Not really. But the Alabama Crimson Tide were victorious in the Iron Bowl. We have bragging rights for a year. This makes it 6 in a row. We also had Kalen DeBoer, who may have the biggest kahunas in all of college football, going for it on 4-2 to win the game. Impressive play. Here it is right here. Ty Simpson to Isaiah Horton. Very impressive. DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, all the guys making it happen. Good job, boys. Have this incredible fumble caused by Deontay Lawson on the defense. Ended up winning the game. Cam Coleman dropped the ball. Roll Tide, Alabama. SEC Championship up this week. Let's get it done. We also had some other games. In the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss was able to beat Mississippi State 38-19. Also, we saw Georgia and Georgia Tech in good old-fashioned hate. We got to see them play in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and they ended up winning 16-9. Georgia Tech tried a last-minute Hail Mary, but that did not save them. We also saw Nebraska, unfortunately, lose to Iowa. The corn is still better in Nebraska, so I've heard. But this year, that did not happen for the W there. I think next year they'll be better. They've got a lot going for them, and I think they're only going to get better under Matt Rule. Matt Rule year 4, Fabled year 4 coming next year. Dylan Raiola coming back. Yeah, it's going to be good. We also got to see Vandy, Tennessee. Vandy was able to go into Knoxville, into Neyland, and they were able to win 45-24. Diego Pavia has made a case for the Heisman, and honestly, I think that he has a shot at it. His yards are great. He had around 4,000 yards total. He's a dual-threat quarterback. He's got like 500-plus yards on Sayin and Fernando Mendoza rushing, so Diego Pavia should be in that conversation, and ultimately I think it should be between him and Mendoza. We will see what happens this weekend in the Big Ten Championship, and that will play a big factor as well. Texas A&M was upset by Texas in a crazy upset. It was unexpected. No one expected it. They were able to pull away. Arch Manning had a great game, had some amazing passes to Ryan Wingo. The Texas defense looked great. Sarkisian was able to get the job done. They played at home in Austin and were able to beat Texas A&M in a surprise upset game by 10 points. It was ended up being 27-17. Good job. Marcel Reed, he played good. It's just that into that game, it just kind of fell apart on Texas A&M, and Texas was able to get the dub. Next, we move on to the second best rivalry in college football, because we all know the Iron Bowl is the best. We're moving on to the game where this year Ohio State was finally able, after 4 years, to beat Michigan. They had Brutus Wright in the snow at Michigan in Ann Arbor. They wrote the Ohio. They crossed out the M. It was a great game. I enjoyed watching it. Julian Sain played well. Cardinal Tate played well. They all played great. Jeremiah Smith. The defense looked good. Ohio State looks like an incredible team. They are very well put together. Ryan Day has finally got over his Michigan problem, and they were able to beat Michigan on the road 27-9. That's with you. Didn't really watch this one, but Oklahoma barely survived LSU. Oklahoma was able to win and keep their playoff dreams alive with a final score of 17-13. It was one of those games where we ask ourselves, what is going on, Oklahoma? We'll see. Got big implications for the ACC. SMU was upset and is going to miss out on the ACC championship. They got upset by Cal on the West Coast. The final score ended up being 38-35. Good job, Cal, for the Golden Bears. You look at the title of this episode, and it is not really related to the pre-intro gag with the Cookie Monster that you saw earlier. Now we are going to get into that Cookie Monster mess with crumble cookies. It's going to be really good, very laughable. You've probably already read about it, but I'm going to get into that. But we have some big coaching shakeups, and we're going to get into the big ones. We're going to hit them, and we're going to see where some of the coaches are, because this episode is called Sideline Shakeups. In a shock to no one, Lane Kiffin is now with the LSU Tigers. He's going there to win. He believes that he can win at LSU. Now, people are calling him the villain. That is the problem on the calendar. Signing day has happened this week, and that's kind of unfair to Kiffin. He had to recruit. But the AD, Keith Carter, would not let him coach out the rest of the games. He wanted to finish what he started. The players wanted him to finish, and he is going to be able to do great things at LSU. It is a great program. They've won multiple national championships, and I think that he will do phenomenally well there, and that is a step up from the Ole Miss job after 6 years. Now, with that being said, we are going to see Ole Miss without their head coach. However, their offensive coordinator will be coaching in the game. They're allowing him to do that. And then on top of that, we will also have the defensive coordinator, who was not promoted to interim. He is going to be the official full coach, Pete Golding. He is going to step up and be the new Ole Miss coach now that Lane Kiffin has stepped out. Congrats to Pete. And yeah, it's going to be a big shakeup. We'll see what Lane does in his tenure at LSU starting next year. And it's going to be real interesting going forward. This one's bittersweet because we have a great coach, Coach Shep. He was a coach with our wide receivers. He is going to be going to Oregon State, to the Beavers. They are going to be picking him up as their new head coach. Congrats, Coach Shep. You earned this, and you're a great one. We will miss you. Roll Tide. To no shock, Clark Lee has signed an extension with Vanderbilt and also has flipped from Georgia the 5-star recruit quarterback, Jared Curtis. So Vandy's not going anywhere. They're still going to be able to compete once Pavi is gone. And I really do hope that they eventually make the playoff. I'm rooting for you, Vandy. I think Vandy is honestly my second team in the SEC behind Alabama. I think that Vanderbilt is a good team, and I think that they deserve to finally let the nerds win. Let the nerds compete and let them do their thing. They got the money to do it, and that's how you play the game now with NIL. Yeah, I'm going to quick fire around some of this. We had Eli Drinkowitz at Missouri. Drink is not going anywhere. He signed an extension. We also have Ryan Silverfield from Memphis. He will be going to Arkansas. Congrats to Ryan Silverfield. And then we also ended up having John Summerall. He did not go to Auburn like most people thought, like Ethan thought. And he will be going to Florida from Tulane, and I congratulate him there. I think that he will do great. He's a great coach. He's about business, and I think that he will do a phenomenal job, and he will definitely make the changes that he needs to on his way he coaches and on the coaches that he has and recruiting and who he plays, because he's a very adaptable, flexible guy, and he will do what it takes to win. We had JMU coach Bob Chesney. He's going to be going to the UCLA job. We also had Kentucky firing Stoops. Stoops is no longer there. They have hired offensive coordinator Will Stein from Oregon to take that job. We also had JMU hire Billy Napier. Billy Napier has gone back to the G5, so he will be at JMU next season. And then we come to Alex Golesh. Good morning, comrades. Alex Golesh has been announced as the new head coach at Auburn. We are now in the Soviet Auburn era. So, Auburn, let's see what you guys can do. Alex Golesh is a great coach. He did good things at USF. And ultimately, I think this is a good hire for you guys. I definitely think you guys can do a lot with what you have and what you're going to be able to bring in. And I definitely think he will be better than what Hugh Freeze was. Trust the process, and you guys will come back. It's just going to take a little bit of a rebuild. And from there, I think the Auburn Tigers, I'm rooting for Alex Golesh. I don't personally like Auburn as an Alabama fan, but I do like Golesh a lot. I think his story's great. You know, he immigrated at 7 from Russia during the fall of the Soviet Union, and I really do think that he is an all-American guy. Definitely maybe American than most Americans, and he's living that American dream. He's a college football coach. It's awesome. It's a great story. So I am rooting for him. Now we get to the story of the week. Welcome to the Cookie Monster Mayhem. Penn State fires James Franklin. Early into the season, you know, they lost to Oregon. They lost to UCLA. They lost some games like that. Wasn't great. They fired him. They parted ways. Pat Kraft, his approval rating was through the roof, and now it has gone through the floor. And maybe he saved his job. Maybe he hasn't. Maybe he's still going to get fired. The rumor on the internet is that he may still get fired. But it took them a while to hire a new coach, and they were getting bent on both sides. Now you're asking what happened. The crumble cookie of all people got involved. So this is what happened. They tried to go after BYU's coach. So they were banking on a few things. They tried to get Kalen DeBoer from Alabama. He didn't want it. They were banking that he would lose the Iron Bowl. Josh Heupel from Tennessee didn't want it. And some of that is kind of on the flip side of they're thinking because James Franklin was represented by Jimmy Sexton, that Jimmy Sexton may have been coach blocking and not even showing his clients the offers from Penn State, which that is true. That is super petty, and I don't blame him. I like James Franklin. I think he's going to do great things at Virginia Tech. We'll get into more of that later. But you ask yourself, how is Crumble Cookie involved? So BYU, the LDS Church, caught wind that Penn State was trying to poach their coach, Kalani Sitake. And Sitake was actually considering the offer. The LDS Church caught wind of it, and they said no. And they gave BYU, they opened up the money vaults. They said, we will match that deal. We will give you more NIL money. We'll give you what you need to compete in the Big 12 with Texas Tech. We have the oil money versus the cookie money. And with that being said, Crumble Cookie came in. They're going to do an NIL deal. They're going to give money to the BYU NIL fund. Penn State got bent on both sides by Jimmy Sexton and by BYU and Crumble Cookies. And to make it better, James Franklin on signing day during the press conference, he had the Crumble Cookies on the table. And that was sending the message to Penn State about firing James Franklin and getting blocked by Crumble Cookie. And it was hilarious. Okay, now we're going to get into the playoff update. So the update with the playoff is a few things changed. Alabama went to 9. Texas A&M fell to 7. Texas did not get in. Miami's still not in. BYU's on the bubble. Notre Dame is number 10. Now, here's some crazy things that are going to happen. If Duke beats Virginia this weekend, that could lead to no ACC representation unless they put Miami in. And I think whether Alabama loses or wins, now some people are saying Alabama gets blown out, they may not be in. And that may be true. But they moved them on purpose because they are going to drop out Notre Dame potentially for Miami if there is no ACC representation. There's no way they're going to leave the ACC out. Now, that all comes down to if BYU can beat Texas Tech, which I do not think they will. I think Texas Tech will win that game. I think BYU will be able to go back with some of that recruiting money, that NIL money from Crumble Cookie and from the church to compete next year. But I do think that Texas Tech will win. I'm hoping Duke pulls off the upset. And I am rooting for James Madison, Tulane. I'm going to talk more about that later. We got conference championship weekend coming up. No, I do think that there's going to be a lot going on. I hope that Texas Tech is able to get into the playoff and get a bye. They deserve it. They have had a good season. They have dominated the Big 12. So I'm rooting for them. I'm going to talk more about this in next week's episode because we're going to review conference championships. We're going to prepare for the Heisman. And then on top of that, we are going to talk about the final playoff rankings and then how I would update the playoff. I'm leaning towards expansion to 16. Now, I will explain that more next week, so don't go, oh, he just wants more teams. I think it is actually necessary, and I think it will actually benefit everyone in all the conferences. But I do think that getting in 2 group of 6 teams, I just want to see the best teams in, and I honestly think that we should only let one Group of 6 team in. Now, I don't hate them. I love Tulane. I think they deserve to be in. I think James Madison has a shot at being in, and I'm not opposed to leaving them out. Now, with looking at the odds and everything in the game and the point spreads, it's embarrassing to see that some of these teams would get absolutely blown out by any of these top conference teams, and that's why I'm against having too many of them in the playoff when we give those spots to some at-large teams from different conferences, whether it be Vandy or Miami or Texas, fill in the blank. Okay, we had National Signing Day this week. Some big things happened. Alabama was able to get the number 4 recruiting class in 2026. We had 21 commits overall. We had 4 5-star commits and 9 4-star commits. Very impressive, Coach DeBoer. You're doing great things. Kalen DeBoer is a good coach. He ain't going nowhere. He said that he was not even entertaining the Penn State job. He's happy where he's at. And we love to have Coach DeBoer. DeBoer is the man. He's made the SEC championship, and he's more than likely going to make the playoff. So, DeBoer, we're with you. Roll Tide. We also ended up having USC got the number 1 class this year. Behind them were Oregon and Notre Dame. And they were able to get, this is Lincoln Riley's USC. They're only going to get better. It was very impressive. They have 35 commits. They ended up having 1 5-star and 21 4-stars. So I was impressed with the USC Trojans. We also had a crazy thing happen because of James Franklin going to Va Tech. We had Penn State without a coach at the time. Now they have hired a coach, and I will be talking about that now. Their coach is now Iowa's head coach, Matt Campbell. I can say that Penn State did hire Matt Campbell as of today. And on top of that, we had Penn State fall. Their recruiting class ended up falling. They had 2 commits, 2 4-stars. They fell below Harvard. They fell below Navy, UAB, a bunch of other Group of 6 teams. They ended up being ranked 157 in the recruiting class for next year. And then on the flip side of that, we ended up having Virginia Tech had a flip miss. They were able to get some different players, a lot of recruits that were going to go to Penn State. They wanted to still play for James Franklin. So we're going to have Virginia Tech had finished 23rd in recruiting class for next year. They were supposed to be at around like 140, but with James Franklin and able to have the flip miss, they are going to have 8 4-star recruits with 23 overall commits. So hats off to James Franklin and the Virginia Tech Hokies. Let's start off with some of our conference championship predictions to finish off the show this week. We have James Madison's playing tonight against Troy in the Sun Belt Championship. Give me James Madison. I think that they are potentially going to make the playoff. They've looked good all season. They're 11-1. Troy is 8-4. I think that James Madison is going to win that game. I'm very impressed with the James Madison Dukes and Bob Chesney. And Billy Napier is going to be coming there next year, so maybe they'll still be able to hold on to some of their players, and they'll be able to do some great things. Next, we have Conference USA. We have Jacksonville State playing Kennesaw State. They were able to beat Kennesaw State in a game earlier this season, very close game. I'm hoping that JSU wins. I got to go for JSU. That's where my parents went to college. So, with that being said, I think Jacksonville State will win the Conference USA Championship. We also have Mountain West playing. Boise State is going to be playing against UNLV. Give me Boise State to win that game. Got to go with them. Also, we have the MAC. I think that I'm going to end up going with Miami, Ohio. That may be an upset game against Western Michigan, but I'm going to go with Miami, Ohio. And then we've got my favorite conference championship game of the Group of 6, and that is going to be the American Conference. Now, we have Tulane playing against North Texas. A lot of people think North Texas is going to be able to pull it out. It's more in favor of them. But I think that John Summerall and Tulane are going to be able to do this. They're going to be able to get in the playoff and hopefully keep their those dreams alive before he heads off to play in Florida next year. So give me the Tulane Gruen Wave. I believe in you guys. Go win. I kind of hinted at this earlier. I do think that Texas Tech will beat BYU. I think BYU is going to try to put up a fight. I don't know if it's going to be like it was last time where Texas Tech just dominated, but I do think that Texas Tech will be able to win this game. I think they are going to get in the playoff. Unfortunately, BYU won't make it. Now, if it was like a 16 in the future, they would automatically get in as being a conference champion runner-up. We're going to talk about that more next week. But yeah, They both look really good. I think that Joey Maguire and Texas Tech get in this game, and then they're going to be in that playoff, hopefully get a bye. We got one that's going to shake up things, maybe even let Miami in over Notre Dame, and that is going to be the ACC championship. That is going to be Virginia versus Duke. Now, the Virginia Cavaliers are trying to beat the Duke Blue Devils. But honestly, a lot of people are thinking Virginia's going to win. I am hoping for the Duke upset. I think the Blue Devils have it in them. They've made it this far, and they've surprised a lot of people in getting this championship game. This is the Duke chaos scenario. I am here for the chaos. Why not? Give me Duke in that game. I know it's a crazy pick, but my gut's going with Duke, and it may be wrong, but I want the chaos. Also, we ended up having the Big Ten Conference Championship. That is going to be the undefeated Indiana going against the undefeated Ohio State. Now, I think Indiana's played more people. They played Oregon. They also played Iowa. So I think that Indiana has played a better schedule. They've looked phenomenal. Mendoza's looked great. That you have Omar Cooper Jr. I've been real impressed with them. And with saying that, I just don't think Ohio State has played much of anybody. Their strength of schedule is 46. And I think Ohio State is still a good team, but they played Michigan. That's the only really team that they played. I mean, they did play Illinois and Washington when they were ranked, but not really impressed with those teams as far as the rest of the Big Ten. Now there's haters out there who say I don't respect Big Ten. I do. I like teams like Nebraska, even though they are not playoff contenders. But I do respect some of these teams. I do respect Ohio State and Ryan Day. But I think that Indiana will shock the world. They will win this game. Give me Indiana as the Big Ten champion. Now we're going to be moving on. This is the one I care about the most. This is our last game. This is the end of the show. We have the SEC Championship tomorrow in Atlanta, Georgia, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's going to be an inside game. It's going to be a 4 o'clock game there, 3 o'clock game in Central Time. The Georgia Bulldogs are taking on Kalen DeBoer's Alabama Crimson Tide. We got Ty Simpson playing. LT Overton on defense is going to be out. Cuevas is still questionable. Jam Miller's questionable. Got a lot going on. It's going to be an interesting game. I think that Georgia's figured out some of their defensive stuff. Center is hurt. Alabama has some questionable hurt players too. And I think that, we're going to be able to rely on some of the guys we got. And now it does hurt, having certain people out that won't be back to the playoff. But I do think that hopefully Ty Simpson's able to figure things out. Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, maybe even Ryan Williams surprises people. Not many people are talking about that. But I do believe that the Alabama Crimson Tide, don't count them out. They said when we were going into Georgia earlier this season to Athens before we broke their winning streak and we won there by 3 that we couldn't do it. But Kalen DeBoer locks in for the big games. Ryan Grubb locks in. And the defense has gotten better. Our run game looked better last week. And rivalry games are one thing. And Auburn looked like a better team. DJ Durkin was doing great. Ashton Daniels was doing good. They had the right parts, the right talents with Hugh Freeze. They just had the wrong quarterback, and they were not doing well with him calling all the plays. We saw Georgia struggle with Georgia Tech last week. I do think that this is going to be a good game. I think it'll be a close game. Georgia could win, but I'm hoping Alabama's going to win. So I am going to go with the Alabama Crimson Tide to win this game. Got to go with my boys. Roll Tide. And with that being said, I will see you guys next week. This has been the House Divided College Football Show, and thank you for watching. Peace.